Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 PM Pacific time in the United States, which is 10 AM in Australia or 1 AM if you're in the UK. Remember, if you miss the live streams, you can watch the catch-up streams on a Friday and Saturday at 2 PM Pacific time in the US, 7 AM in Australia or 10 PM in the UK. It is good to see you guys. Mr. Squarepeg, Morak and Smurfberry Barbecue. Hope you're all well. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you're staying cool. If it's hot where you are, or you're staying warm. If it's cold where you are. It's actually cold here in Australia. I don't know if you've been seeing the news stories, but they've been showing kangaroos jumping around in snow. So it's pretty cold. Not in Melbourne where I am though. There's no snow here. But I hope you guys are well. What are we doing? Oh, that's right. We're going to continue working on the Temple of the Winds that we're making in 3D Studio Max. We're texturing it up in Substance Painter. Morek says, melting hot here, can't think and can't work. And Euro, hello to you, Euro, as well. It's good to see you. Hope you're well. Yeah, I know. Look, you guys know I was streaming at the end of last year, which is our summer, around December, when it's your winter. And I was telling you guys, it was the hottest summer I remember. So I'm not looking forward to summer coming back to Australia in a few months' time. Global warming. It's global warming. We're all doomed. We're doomed. So yeah, I know what it's like. It's never nice when it's really hot. It's really hard to keep to stay cool. It's easier to get warm than it is to get cool. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I do feel for you. I know what it's like. I'm not looking forward to it coming back around this way soon. But at the moment it's not. It's snowing in parts of Australia at the moment. So there you go. And it's snowing in places in the inland of Australia where it's normally like semi-desert. So that shows you just how screwy the climate is getting at the moment. Euro says, our last winters have been real mild, hardly had any snow. Ours are usually as well. Like, generally, recently, the winters in this country have been really mild. But at the moment, and this winter hasn't been exceptionally cold, but at the moment we do have like this Arctic blast coming from Antarctica. So it has made it snow in places that don't normally snow. So, snow. Yes, snow, Smurfberry, can you believe it? In Australia, snow. Just not where I'm living, because you guys know how much I love the snow. I love cold weather. Ellie, how's it going? I'm well. I hope you're well, Ellie. It's good to see you. And Mr. Squarepeg says snow. Yes, snow in Australia. Can you believe it? I know you guys are used to seeing Australia baking under the sun, and normally we do. But it's been snowing. Snowing in places that don't normally get snow. The weather's weird. It's just the weather is just getting weird. Euro says, when I was a youngster, you used to get snowed in for days, drive home looking out for the top of the fence posts to make sure you were still on the road. Times are changing. Yes, they are. Well, seriously, guys, we've really got to force our politicians to take global warming seriously, because it's going to affect us all really badly. I mean, heat is really bad for your body. I've mentioned this many times. It is incredibly dangerous. You can die. Dangerous. From heat. I mean, you can die from cold as well, don't get me wrong. But it's not getting colder, it's getting hotter. You're good, Ali? That's good to hear. Morak says, we really must do something about global warming. It's getting absurd. It's kind of a big topic for me, and make quite some changes to my lifestyle to make sure I'm doing my part. Good for you, Morak. We all should be doing that. There was a climate report released recently where they suggest that people should start eating more vegetables and less meat, which is fine. I mean, I've told you guys I love my meat. I love meat. I'm not going to give up eating meat completely, but I have cut back on the amount of meat that I do eat, so every little bit helps. Smurfberry says, above a certain temperature, the proteins and enzymes in your body literally stop working. Well, there you go. It is. It's really, really dangerous, really bad for you. And if we can't do something about it soon, eventually the climate's going to reach, this tipping point, as they call it. And it's just going to start running out of control. And we're going to get really, really wacky weather. dangerous weather, because we already get really bad cyclones, hurricanes, as you call them in the United States. We call them a cyclone over here. Tornadoes, they're all getting worse and worse and stronger, and it's because of global warming. I mean, it just astounds me that politicians won't do something about it when it's going to affect them as well as everyone else, you know. Just what is wrong with these people? Mr. Squarepeg says, so speaking of snow in Australia, some climate change deniers are saying because it's snow in Australia, climate change is fake. Well, those people just haven't been, those people are ignorant. You know, if they read what climate scientists are saying, they're suggesting that not only does the planet get warmer, it gets more extreme. So it gets hotter than hot and colder than cold and mixes in between the two, and the weather just gets screwy. I mean, that is climate change. But after a certain point, they can't, no matter what we do to try and stop it, it's just got to keep going and going and going. I mean, you know, you've only got to look at a planet like Venus to see what the greenhouse effect is. You know, once it reaches a certain temperature, it can't be stopped. And then we're all really screwed. So, you know, these climate deniers, we've got them in this country too. A lot of our politicians are major, you know, people in charge of this country are climate deniers. So it's depressing. Morag says, because money lives in a habitable planet. Because money is greater than lives and a habitable planet. That's exactly what it is. Because these politicians get all these kickbacks from big business, mining in this case in our country. We do a lot of mining. We mine a lot of coal, which is incredibly, incredibly bad for the environment. Burning coal is just one of the worst things you can do. Unfortunately, because we have a Liberal government in this country, they believe that we should be digging up more coal and burning more coal and having less renewable energy and, you know, all the wrong things. But it's a democracy. What can you do? They were voted back into power just, you know, 4 or 5 months ago. I didn't vote for them, but yeah, I just got to live with it. Extreme weather, Mr. Squarepeg says, that's exactly right. Extreme weather. It's terrible. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, you know, maybe when half the population drops dead, they might take it seriously, these climate deniers. I don't know. But by that stage, it's going to be way too late. We're all going to die. Isn't it, Phil? Cheery on a Monday morning, a Monday afternoon for you guys. Mr. Squarepeg says, does anyone know why Michael J. Fox is trending on Twitter? I saw you posted that before I started streaming. Why is he trending? I actually don't look at Twitter trends, even though I do have a Twitter account. I don't particularly like social media. I only have a Twitter account because I'm a streamer, and if I can't stream, I need a way to tell you guys that I can't if people aren't a member of my Discord. That's why I've got a Twitter account, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have one. I really don't like social media. I don't like the data mining that goes on with yours, mine, and everybody else's data. I don't trust social media companies. I don't trust Google anymore either. I think they're all behaving really badly with our data and our personal information. But no, I haven't seen why he's trending. I don't know why he's trending. I hope he didn't die. I hope he didn't die as well. Because I know he had that condition. I don't know what his condition actually is, that neurological condition that caused him to shake. So he wasn't appearing in anything for quite a while after, you know, he did his movies. But recently, I think he's been reappearing in a few different TV shows. Hopefully he's not dead. Of course, it could be just a vicious Twitter rumor, which happens as well, you know. Someone on Twitter posts that somebody has died when they haven't actually, and then it just starts taking off, which is cruel. It's cruel to say somebody's dead when they're not dead. Morag says, currently the biggest impacts in order are animal agriculture, transport, cars, planes, etc., industry and factories. Coal doesn't help either, though, and we burn a lot of coal. I mean, you know, that stuff is awful, particularly brown coal. It pumps all sorts of rubbish into the atmosphere. See, the problem I've got too at the moment is there've been like wildfires in Siberia, and Siberia holds a lot of carbon dioxide locked up in the ground because it's frozen most of the time up in Siberia. So when that's all burnt off, that all goes into the atmosphere. It's terrible. It's really bad. I mean, I'm not suggesting that these were wildfires. They weren't, I don't think, set deliberately. But it just contributes to everything just going wacky and getting worse. Parkinson's. Thank you, Mr. Squarepeg. Yes, he has Parkinson's. So I know that he stopped appearing in a lot of films and TV shows for a while. But recently I've seen him in a couple of things, so I hope he's not dead. Euro says, we're pretty much renewable powered now in Scotland, which is good for you. Good for you, Scotland. We just need more storage for it all. My islands are entirely renewable powered and we export loads. Good for you, Scotland. I wish Australia has renewable energy as well. We have wind farms, we have solar. But the government don't want to invest in development of it. They want to just dig up more coal, sell more coal to the rest of the world and burn more coal in our power stations. So we do have renewables, but we don't have a government that really wants to help the renewable sector, unfortunately. But that's great about Scotland. I know Germany are very big on renewables as well, which is good for Germany. Morak says, Wikipedia already has dates for the death of people. Great. So I don't go to Wikipedia very much in the future. Wow. Wikipedia. Don't you love Wikipedia? Look, Wikipedia can be great, but don't take anything you read on Wikipedia as absolute gospel, because a lot of times I've read stuff on Wikipedia articles that are just not correct. It's because I don't know how well they vet the people that are allowed to actually create a Wikipedia article, but yeah. Mr. Squarepeg says there's more than wildfires in Siberia. Several Russian ammo... I heard about that too. Ammo depots exploded because of the wildfires. Yeah, I actually saw the footage on a news report where you see this ammo depot explode and you see the shockwave actually move and push the clouds back, and it was incredible footage of this explosion. It was amazing. And of course, Russia had just test-fired some new missile, which is supposed to be nuclear-powered. It's nuclear-carrying capable as well, but apparently the fuel was nuclear-powered, so it allows Russia to send a missile halfway around the world or all the way around the world. That exploded, and they're saying that that's put radiation into the atmosphere, or they think it has. Russia aren't saying. So yeah, lots of stuff going on around the world at the moment. You got the Hong Kong protests, of course. They're not protesting about climate change, but there are a lot of unhappy people all around the world, everywhere. Mr. Squarepeg says one Russian nuclear reactor went up as well. Yeah, that might have been the missile launch that they did, because they were testing this new missile that apparently, according to the news reports, if you want to believe the news, I know some of you probably don't, they were testing some new nuclear-powered missile. So, yeah, a nuclear reaction actually propelled the missile. That blew up. So there you go. The missile hit the reactor. Look, I don't know. I only saw the report this morning on the news briefly. The world's a mess, guys. It's a mess. Between global warming and people unhappy in Hong Kong and problems going on with Iran and trade wars with China, and let's just not talk about it. It's too depressing. Let's talk about some 3D instead, because that's much more interesting and much more fun. We're going to continue doing some texturing on this model. We are almost finished the texturing stage. What I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to take a couple of assets into Mari after I finish texturing up the rest of the model, just so I can do some touch-up work on probably mostly the photogrammetry pieces. And then we're going to jump into Eon View and we're going to create a beauty render, a full-on 3D environment that we can make some beauty renders of. Mr. Squarepeg says, did you see the Moscow protests? I did see it on the news briefly, yes. I've seen those protests. Yep. Morak says, I didn't know about the ammo stashes and so on, and even more nuclear reactors, but yes, I agree, we hear about 3D, that's right. Yeah, it's just too depressing, guys. The world is bad enough without us talking about it. We all know it's terrible. So yeah, last week we were doing some texturing work here. We're going to continue doing that. Once we've finished the texturing, we'll do a couple of things in Mari. Mari, again, is a program made by a company called The Foundry, which I believe are a UK company. You can download a free version of it that's fully functional. I think the limit is you can't export textures greater than 4K, which is big enough, really, unless you're doing film work where you need to export a 128K texture. 4K is generally fine, and it's free. So it is expensive if you do want to buy it, if you do want to do stuff that's bigger than 4K, but you shouldn't need to. So we will jump into that program soonish because we've only got a few more pieces left to texture up here in Substance Painter. Euro says, my PC bits arrived today, tested all good, now to wait on my case to arrive to home it all. Congrats, Euro. I'm the same. Like when I upgrade my computer, I don't buy a pre-built system. I like to build my own system. I don't know. I like it. I enjoy it, doing it. It's part of the fun of being a PC person is actually putting your computer together yourself instead of going to Dell or something and buying a pre-built system, or even just going to a Baroque PC builder and getting them to do it for you. Do it yourself. It's not hard, and it's fun. You can pick the parts you want exactly and put it together yourself. I enjoy doing it. And it's always because I've been the same. I bought the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, and then I've had to wait for things like cases or something or a power supply to arrive before I can put it all together. So seeing those boxes sort of sitting there on the table, not being able to be used, just drives me nuts. I'm impatient. You have to let us know how it goes, Jero, once you put it all together. What did you end up getting? Mr. Squarepeg says, have you seen the UDIM support that's coming to Blender? No, but I do know UDIM support is coming to Substance Painter. That's pretty exciting. You'll be able to paint across UDIMs in Substance Painter. That's one of the features that they've got on their roadmap coming up. So that'll be cool. And Mari, of course, supports UDIMs as well. UDIM support in Blender, though, that'll be really cool. I'm surprised it's taken this long for Blender to do it. You can do the UDIMs in Max, of course, because otherwise you couldn't make a model that you could paint in Mari. Smurfberry says 128K. 128K is nothing. Sometimes if you're doing film work, some of the textures can get massive, depending on what the scene is. Smurfberry says Pog. Euro says Morex says congrats to Euro. I believe you were really hyped. I hope to get a 16-core 3950X when it comes out if I can afford it. Otherwise, I might get a loan to speed up rendering. Otherwise, it's just insane. Well, that's always an option. You can take out a loan if you can't afford the PC. But like I've said to you guys too, if you really skint for cash, the biggest boost you can give your PC really is going to be a new GPU. More cores, like the new Threadrippers, the new AMD stuff, that's really great because they're giving us a lot more cores for a lot less money now. And that always helps with rendering. But let's take V-Ray, for example, which is what we use at the studio and I use here. It can use the GPU as well as the CPU. So upgrading a GPU is a cheaper alternative to your CPU. And you can, even if you're doing rendering and you use something like V-Ray, not just V-Ray, there are other renderers that use GPU too now. They can speed up things quite a bit too. But more cores is always cool. Never say no to more cores. Mr. Squarepeg says, Demorag, the Ryzen CPUs are amazing. They are. Euro says, Cinebench 20 score is 3 times what my i7 4770K is. Wow. 3 times. You'll notice that speed up. That's what I generally do with graphics cards. I don't usually upgrade every new graphics card. Like I don't go from a 980 to a 1080 to a 2080. I'd go from a 980 to a 2080, or I go from a 780 to a 1080. I generally skip a generation, and that generally will give you at least a 50% improvement in GPU speed, because otherwise you're only getting like a 20 or 30% boost, and you're spending, because GPUs are expensive now. They never used to be as pricey as they are now. I mean, I don't know about you guys in the US, but here in Australia, if you want to buy a 2080 Ti, you're looking at like 2,200 Australian dollars. So 2,200 Australian dollars for a 2080 Ti. It's just getting insane. GPU prices are getting, that's an NVIDIA, are getting insane. So I don't know whether it's the retailers in this country marking stuff up more than they should be. I'm not sure. Euro says R9 3900X 32 gig DDR4, sweet. Asus X570 Prime Pro motherboard, 480 gig M.2 SSD. Oh, that sounds sweet. I noticed the difference when I started using an M.2 SSD over a SATA SSD. For boot times and stuff, particularly, I noticed the speed up using M.2. That and the fact too that it takes up less space in your case because, you know, these M.2s just slot into the motherboard, so they're really small. I like them. I think they're cool. And 32 gig of DDR4 is sweet. That should be fine for you. My machine here has 32 gig of RAM as well, and you guys know I do a lot of photogrammetry stuff, as well as a lot of V-Ray rendering stuff, and I've never ran out of memory. So, I mean, yeah, you can. You know, more memory is always good, but I found 32 gig to be the sweet spot for the stuff that I need to do. And memory was very expensive for a while there because it was in shortage, but now it's come down a lot in price. Morek says, yes, I was waiting for that to come to Substance in a while. Yeah, everybody has. Everyone wants UDIM support in Substance. Mr. Squarepeg says, I did not know that Substance is getting UDIMs. It is. You'll be able to paint across UDIMs in Substance soon. It's on the roadmap. They did a demonstration. It might have been at SIGGRAPH, I'm not sure, recently. Adobe. I keep wanting to say algorithmic. Adobe showed it all. So it is coming. Smurfer says, only 32 gig of RAM. 32 gig is fine. I've got 32 gig. Euro says, yes, Smurfer, you're going to get another 32 gig later. For now, it's fine. Yeah, that's the best way to go. Because all modern motherboards can take at least 64 gig of memory these days. Some of them can take more, of course, depending on what the motherboard brand and model number is. But 64 gig is pretty much standard as far as the max memory of a motherboard goes. And if you buy, like if you get two 16 gig DIMMs, then that'll still leave you with two free DIMM slots so that you can put in another 32 gig if you need it. But I've found that 32 gig has been fine for me. So. Morak says, I got a good 1080 Ti here. It's a beast, but I just can't get something running well with V-Ray, and for some reason on CPU everything is fine. But if I try the real-time version, my renders become extremely light sensitive and most of the time extremely brighter. That's unusual. And that's really weird because I haven't changed any F factors and so on, so I can't explain. Yeah, that is strange. I have not run into that problem, Morak. I use V-Ray here, and I've used the GPU, the RT version of V-Ray, which is real time. And I haven't noticed that problem. The other thing I like about the V-Ray's RT is it can take advantage of the GPUs on all the other machines you might have. So in my network at home here, I have 3 machines that I rendered together, and they all have GPUs, so I can use the GPU V-Ray RT to take advantage of the GPUs on the other 2 machines as well. So I think that's really cool, and the CPU at the same time. So it can take advantage of the CPU and the GPU. So that's why I love V-Ray. I love V-Ray. Euro says Timura could be not enough VRAM. I have noticed sometimes bucket rendering between different rendering machines on a network, even using the CPU, can sometimes give you problems if you're not sharing. If you haven't set up a shared folder that every machine can access, that can cause issues. That's the only time I've really seen it though. Morek says, I think for getting 64 gigs just to be on the safe side. Hey, listen, I'm not suggesting more memory the better. That's what I say. So yeah, I would never say don't get memory. Memory is a good thing, just like cores are a good thing. Smurfberry says, next time I build a computer, it's going to be 64 gig minimum. Okay. Well, that's fair enough, because like I said, memory's come down a lot in price recently. It used to be quite expensive. Not that long ago, only about 12 months ago. And Smurfberry says, never running out of RAM again. It's an important part of a PC RAM. But if all you're doing is using your computer to play games, then usually, 8 gigabytes is enough. Unless you're doing productivity or stuff like, heavy 3D modeling or photogrammetry, then 8 gig will be enough. If you're just running games and want to, play with your PC now and then. Morek says to Smurfberry, I hear you, Smurf. Morek says, I wish I can have my own little farm here. flower pot will be smashing renders like hell. Yeah, I can actually VPN into the studio's network as well. They've got a really sweet rendering set up at the studio. The server and stuff is quite powerful, and because I work for the studio and they allow me, thankfully, to do work from home. I still have to go into the studio, but a lot of the time I can work from home. They let me access the network at work if I need to do any rendering for the studio. Just for the studio. They don't want me doing my personal stuff, which is fair enough. But at home, I've got my 3 machines networked together. So when I do a render, it can go as quickly as possible. So how many cores does that give me? It gives me about 32 cores, I think, all up. When I start rendering on all my machines at the same time. That's okay. It gets my renders done pretty quickly. Okay, what are we going to texture up? I've got to try and work out what I want to do with the terraces here, how I want to texture them. I'm thinking we're going to stick to using this texture because I don't want to mix and match too many different textures, otherwise it's going to start to look a bit hodgepodge. It's always better to keep consistency. So I think what I'm going to probably end up doing is I'm going to reuse the same substance that we created for the tiles on all of the terrace levels. But what I might do is I might change the color because I made this substance in Alchemist. I might change the color on the smaller steps that we see just here. So same texture, different color. I might bring it into more of a green, and we'll use the blue on these lower terrace sections, the same color blue, to keep consistency. I think that'll be the best shot at that, but I think what we'll do first is we might take these pieces into Painter and we'll texture them up. These little decorative pieces here. Okay, so let us send it to Substance Painter. It's going to complain the first time. It always does. It's a permissions problem. All I have to do is cancel out of it and do it again, and it will be happy. Actually, Adobe have said that they're going to integrate, they're looking at integrating as part of Substance Painter a plugin that'll allow you to send your models between different 3D programs, and you won't need to install a third-party plugin like this. That will be cool. That would be very cool. Actually, before I send that over, I'm going to rename it so that it's not called A1406, because that's not very descriptive. We're going to call it Small Terrace Decos. So let me do it again. There we go. It caught me by surprise because I'm seeing here current preset UE4, which is fine. I created that preset when I was sending stuff between Max and UE4 for the game level. We can keep it at that though. That'll be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to minimize Max in the background as well. Okay. Let us bake out our textures. It just complains about the ID map because I don't have IDs assigned to the model, but that's okay. We don't need an ID map for this. Alright, let us make these larger so we can get a better look at what they look like, and let's work out what we want to put on here. Again, I want to go for like a stone. I want to go for a slightly different color than the decoration that's beside it. I could reuse the same smart material we created for the other decoration, but I want it to be a slightly different color because I want it to stand out a bit more. And if we go with the same material, then it's all going to start to blend together a bit too much. So let's find something. Let's see what this looks like. Let's see if we can get away with using this. Let's get rid of that layer at the bottom. We don't need that. Scale it up. Yeah, no, it's that black line that it has, and it's really, if that wasn't there, it'd be a perfect texture, but there's no way to get rid of it, unfortunately. I'm just going to turn off the hide information as well. Actually, I'll leave the normal map on. Yeah, I don't think we can use it. I'm going to leave it there just temporarily while I look for something else to put over the top of it. Let's have a look at this one. Let's just turn that off underneath. Okay, just going to have a look at this one. No, I thought there might have been an option for me to turn those lines off, but there's not. It's okay. Parameters. Let's pull back on the height range. It's way too bumpy. And let us increase the scaling a little bit. Okay. Again, let's pull back on the height. Still way too much. Because what we're looking for here is just an underlying texture we can use that we can start layering on top of. I'm just looking at the brick size here so I can get an idea of the scale, whether the scale of the texture is correct or not. Okay, let me delete this underlying layer because we don't want that now. Let's have a look at this concrete. Morek says, what advantages does Mari have over Substance besides UDIMs? Just wondering why I would need it after the UDIM update to Substance. Well, Mari can export textures much bigger than Substance Painter can. That's the main reason. Mari is used in film, so anytime you see a film like Avengers Endgame or anything like that, they have probably used Mari to do a lot of their texture painting, unless they've used custom tools. A lot of large studios will create custom tools for stuff as well, but if they haven't done that, then they probably used Mari. I'm just going to find the website for you so you guys can read up on what Mari does for you and all that sort of stuff. I'll pop the link in chat. I used to use it when I worked in film. That's why I still use it now. That's the link to their website here. You can download the program. But yeah, basically the main advantage is the fact that there is no limit on texture sizes. The only limit is the amount of memory in your computer. It can export textures as big as you want. It does have a PBR workflow now as well, so that's like Substance Painter. It's always had UDIMs. But like I said, if you're doing game stuff, then Substance Painter is probably a better fit anyway. I still like Mari. I still use Mari. I like the fact I find Mari easier to use than Substance Painter to do texture painting, because like I'm one of those really weird people that likes to get in there with a bitmap and texture paint by hand. I like doing that, and I've used Mari. Mari is really good for that sort of thing. You can do the same thing as Substance Painter. They're pretty much doing a lot of the same things now. But I find Mari easier to use than Substance Painter sometimes. The layout and the user interface and stuff is just a little bit easier for me to use, I find, than Substance Painter, particularly if I'm doing texture painting work. But you guys read up on it, check it out if you want. Like I said, download there is a version you can download for free and use. Just give them a throwaway email if you want a Gmail account or something, if you don't want to give them your email address. Oh, maybe that's not where it is. It might be somewhere else. But somewhere here there is a download link. But yeah, they're really the only advantages, Morek, I can think of. The fact you can export really large textures, the fact that I find the interface a little bit easier to work with if you're painting textures by hand. They're probably the two biggest things I would say are better in Mari. Yeah, much of a muchness though. I mean, it doesn't hurt to learn a new piece of software for your resume anyway. Just so you can write on your resume, yes, I can use Substance Painter, and yes, I can use Mari by the Foundry. It all helps. Okay, I'm just going to change the color of this. So I just want to look at the color underneath and look at this overlying color. Let's start by making it darker. I might just take it into a little bit more of a brown. Make it a little bit darker here. Moisture color. I don't see any moisture color in this at all anyway. I'm pulling back on the dirtiness here because if I pull up on the dirtiness, it's putting that line in everything, and I don't like that, so I'm just going to remove that. But this is what one of the really great things about Substance Painter is. Whoever creates the substance can create all of these parameters you can change on the fly. That's really helpful and really useful. So, you know, Substance Painter has a better library of substances than Mari does. You'd have to make them yourself in Mari, or there are some you can download, but not a lot. More access, because now I'm out of software, you know, is enough. No, that's right. You know, but working in information technology or the arts fields with PCs or whatever it is, computers, you never ever stop learning. There's always something new to learn. I wonder why I didn't get that event log. I noticed that, thank you for the follow. I can't mention your name because Streamlabs chatbot has not popped up the message telling me who you were. My apologies. Maybe it's just taking a little while. Thank you for the follow. What is this? Now I'm going to try and pronounce your name. Imithi Geek, is it? It's a raid. Imithi Geek, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing your username. Thank you for the follow. I think it was you. Yeah. So it just looks like, for some reason. Yes, welcome to Phil Does 3D. If you've got any questions, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If I can help, I'm happy to try. And it was Imithi Geek that followed. Finally, I got my event notification in Streamlabs. So there you go. Streamlabs must just be a bit slow off the mark this morning. So thank you, Imithi Geek, I'm assuming. Thank you for the follow. I do appreciate it. Android Lust, it's good to see you, buddy. How are you? Did you have a good weekend? Always good to see you, Android Lust. So yeah, if you've got any questions, do feel free to ask me. But if all you want to do is watch, that's completely fine. Amithi Geek says, I just finished streaming, so I rated you. Not seeing you before, this is cool. It's Emi. I'll call you Emi, alright? Because that's easier for me. But welcome, Emi. Good to see you're a streamer as well. What do you stream? Andrew Dust says, weekend was solid. Do remember too, if you want to join the Phil Dust 3D Discord server, that's the link I've just popped into chat if you're watching my channel. Because only subs can post links in Twitch chat, but everybody posts links in the Discord server. I'm on Twitch to interact with you guys and to encourage you guys to do 3D. And I like to see the work that you do, so there's a gallery section on the Discord where you can post links to your work. There's also a section where you can promote your social media accounts or your ArtStation or Folio, as well as tutorials and tips and all that sort of stuff. All the stuff relating to art and 3D. So character art. Okay, cool. That is very cool. So I'm assuming you use, I'm assuming 3D maybe, and if so, it's ZBrush. Are you a ZBrush person? Don't get the guys and me started on ZBrush. ZBrush, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, look, ZBrush is a great program. The guys will tell you how much I dislike the interface of ZBrush, but that's just me. I like a nice clean interface, and I find ZBrush's interface to be a little bit cluttered. But it's a great program. I'm not going to say it's not a good program. All right, let us do our first blend with the smart material, I think, here. But you can cut, yeah, I know, and I have customized it, but the ZBrush interface is not like normal 3D. The canvas business, 2.5D business, all of that is really annoying. As a 3D artist, I hate the 2.5D canvas. It just annoys me. If I forget to edit my model after I've laid it down and I can't edit it again, I've got to, it's just annoying. That and the fact too that I don't like the way that they lay their interface out. It seems cluttered. They nest menus within menus within menus. I find it difficult to use. I do use it because it's the best at doing sculpting on 3D models. ZBrush is the best, but it doesn't mean I have to like the interface. But I do like the program. I just wish, yeah, and I have customized the interface as much as I can, but even just doing a customization on the interface is a pain. I don't do things normally the way you would normally expect to customize your interface. Morek says, I really love the procedural texturing with Substance. It's just so awesome to connect nodes and watch the magic unfold. Really good for environment textures. I made a brick wall with a value for moss amount and humidity for one of the VR apps I made, but the studio didn't let me take it back home due to legal stuff. Yeah, you got to remember too, if you're working for a studio, anything you make on their time, they own. So unless you've come to an agreement with them prior, generally, if you're working on their time and anything you're making, they own the rights to. It's generally the way it works. And Nightbot spamming my links as usual. Cookie, hey, it's good to see you, Cookie. How are you? Did you have a good weekend? It's always good to see you, Cookie. So let's throw down a smart material and let's do a blend between these two different substances. And then we're going to throw down a couple more on top of that again. So smart masks. Let's see, what do we got here? What would be good? Well, they actually added 20 new smart masks in the new version of Substance Painter that they released a few weeks ago. So even more spoiled for choice now. Decisions. You guys know how much I hate making decisions. Let's look at this one. This dirt soft edges one. Come on. There we go. And let's play with our global balance. Might pull up on the contrast a little bit. Maybe pull up on the contrast a little bit more. At this stage, what I'm looking to do here is just to create an interesting blend between the underlying material and the top one. Amy says, so what are you making, Phil? I will show you what I'm making. Yes, I will show you what I'm making. Just give Max a minute, because when I have Substance open and Max open at the same time, they both fight for, because they both use DirectX, I think. It just takes Max a second here to get its mind going. But I'm making a Temple of the Winds. So what I'm doing is I'm taking photogrammetry and I'm combining photogrammetry with handmade models to create something unique looking. So this is basically what we're working on at the moment inside of Max. Android Lost says, nice work you have there, Amy. I'll check your work out, Amy, after the stream. Android Lost says, check your ArtStation. Thank you, Amy. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, so this is what we're working on. So basically what we've done is parts of this are photogrammetry, like the top here of the rotunda and these statues here at the front. So I wanted to do streams showing how you could take photogrammetry to make something unique from other pieces of photogrammetry. So, because I get a lot of questions being in 3D, because people are sometimes worried that photogrammetry is going to take away their job, or, you know, AI will take their job away. And that's a valid worry, don't get me wrong, but so I wanted to show how you could use photogrammetry not just to take a photo of something and make a 3D model of it, but take that 3D model and then recombine it into something new, which is what we're doing here. Because what that will do is AI can never be creative, and just using photogrammetry on its own, even though software can do that, if you recombine that photogrammetry model into something new that you've created or made, that sort of ability is never going to be supplanted by AI or photogrammetry alone, because you're using your creativity to make something completely different, something completely new. So that was my point. The whole reason for me doing these streams was to show you how you could take photogrammetry, recombine it into something unique and new, that you could then, yeah. Sniper Girl, it's good to see you, Sniper Girl. I hope you're well. Hope you had a good weekend. Morek says, do it. I want to learn how to use photogrammetry with my 3D in any way. Yes, well, again, the guys and girls on the Discord server, they love photogrammetry themselves as well. So, Lubathor, thank you for the follow. Lubathor, again, my apologies if I'm mangling your usernames, but I do appreciate the follow, so thank you, Lubathor. Again, remember to join the Discord server if you want to show your work off in the gallery and stuff, because I love looking at it. That's, like I said, why I'm on Twitch, is to check out the stuff you guys are doing, more so than me making stuff. Not that I mean, I love doing 3D. I wouldn't be doing it for 15 years if I didn't, but yeah. Sniper Girl says, weekend was good. How was yours? Mine was good. Yeah, no, I had a good weekend. What did I do this weekend? Oh, work, of course. Big surprise. Yeah, no, I was doing work over the weekend. Although I did manage to do a little bit of gardening, even though I don't have a garden because I live in an apartment. I do have potted plants, so I managed to repot a couple of plants that were getting too big for their pot. So that's basically what I did. aside from work. Sniper Girl says to Morak, be glad to help with that. A lot of us, yes, they do. Sniper Girl, Smurfberry Barbecue, a lot of the guys and girls on the Discord server use Photogrammetry. And they're all happy and friendly and helpful. Regardless of what Sniper Girl says, she's very nice as well. Emmy says, I'll have to give it a try sometime. If I ever get a decent camera, I'll join the Discord. Do join the Discord. You don't need anything. Anything bigger than an 8 megapixel camera will be fine for photogrammetry. Okay? Let's get that out of the way front and center. The more megapixels, the better, of course. But as long as you have a camera, even your phone camera, as long as it's at least 8 megapixels, you can use that to do photogrammetry. And a lot of the cameras in phones these days are very good. So yeah, don't think you need to buy an expensive DSLR, although that doesn't hurt. You can use your phone camera as long as it's at least 8 megapixels. 8 megapixels. That many. It might be good for you too as a character artist, because you could do some photogrammetry of whatever, and you can then pose your character either on or in whatever you've created in photogrammetry. It could be really cool. Sniper Girl says, I honestly use my phone for a camera. Yeah, the phone is fine. Yep, very nice. We'll just buy people. She won't buy people's heads off. She says that, but she's very nice. Apart from when she's posting pictures of chocolate cake and pizza when I'm streaming and she knows that I'm starving. She's cruel that way. Like she was last week. Morak says a 20 megapixel camera is more. 20 megapixels is more than enough. I mean, I use a 16 megapixel generally, and for my own personal stuff. If I'm using stuff with a studio, I think their camera is 24 megapixel, but yeah, I use 16 personally. All the megapixels, Smurfberry, yes, that's right. Emi says, yeah, not sure, mine is 8 megapixel, but I'll upgrade my phone soon. Okay. Alex Beck. Alex, it's good to see you, Alex. How are you? Morak says, a cheap tourist camera is pretty useful. Yep. Never thought I would need mine. Like I said, any camera, either it's a phone camera or any sort of camera that at least 8 megapixels. If you start to go below 8 megapixels, you're not really going to get enough definition to get the triangulation correct for photogrammetry. It's going to look, the texturing and stuff is going to not going to look good if it's below 8 megapixel. You're good, Alex? Good to hear. I'm very well. Yes, I was just telling the guys and girls that I worked over the weekend, which is, what I do. But I did do some replanting of some pot plants, so there you go. Which is unusual for me because I'm not really a gardening person. I don't like getting my hands dirty, but yeah, it was enjoyable. I wouldn't want to do it all the time though. Emmy says, okay, so I better go to bed. No problem. It's 1:53 a.m. Hope to catch you online again sometime, but I guess you're on the other side of the world and I'm in Ireland. Yes, I'm in Australia. But thank you, Emmy, for the follow, and thank you for popping in and saying hello. And jump on the Discord server as well if you do want to jump into photogrammetry, and yeah, we'll give you a hand. But you have a good night's sleep, Emmy. Android Lost says, Phil would rather make a 3D garden. That's exactly right. That's why I like, I'm an environment artist, and that's why I do 3D, so I don't have to get my hands dirty. That's why I used to do a lot of painting, oil painting, when I was younger. And I used to love oil painting, but I hated the mess. So when everything started going digital, I loved it. No more messy oil paints, no more smell of, turpentine or anything cleaning brushes. It's just nice and clean and simple and easy. Morak says I should probably replant my plants as well. They want to grow. Yeah, that's why I had to do it, because I had this big indoor plant in this tiny little pot, and the poor thing was starting to not look well. So I thought to myself, I better repot that before it dies, because I've had it for years. I've got a palm over in the corner over there that needs to be done as well, and it's growing huge. Because I remember to water them, so at least I water them, and they grow really well, but yeah, they just seem to outgrow their pots really quickly. and if you don't replant them, then they'll die because they get pot bound, or at least they won't grow anymore. At best, they won't grow anymore, and at worst, they'll die. And I didn't want it to die. Emmy says, cool, see you around. Good night to you too, Emmy. Thanks for popping in. Okay, so let's jump back into Substance Painter. So yes, I'm just really looking to get a blend between the underlying two colours at this stage. Just an interesting blend between the two. Just a bit of colour variation in the texture. So we don't just have a flat brown, you know what I mean? Let's jump back into the materials and let's keep going with a few more. Just a reminder again, we're going to be doing this project. I've marked this project to finish around the first week in September, so about the next 2.5 or so weeks. And then we're going to be jumping back into UE4 to work on the House on the Hollow game. So just giving everyone a heads up as to what the upcoming streams are. We're doing the texturing for this model. Then we're going to be doing the environment and view for this model, for the beauty renders, and then we're going to jump into UE4. And we're going to put a kitchen and bathroom in that building. I've already got a couple of ideas for the bathroom. Morak says, I really want to paint the wall behind my PC. Since I'm on paint, I will probably just get myself some huge sheet of paper. And look, do you want to make a green screen or something, Morak? Is that what you're saying? Are you wanting to do a green screen? Because a green screen can be done with paper on a wall. You don't need to paint the wall. I actually have a portable screen behind me that I can move. It's like a photographer's green screen, portable green screen. So it's meant so photographers can take the green screen outside if they want to do shots using a green screen outside in natural light sort of thing. And I find that's really helpful because, yeah, I don't want to paint my walls green or anything. Snappy Girl says, next 2.5 months, I can. It's not going to take 2. You're so cheeky. Oh, you're going to get a slap. You're going to get a slap. I'll refrain, but you're so close. You get a raspberry instead. Not going to take 2.5 months. I'm offended. Yeah, that's okay, Morak. Messing up sentences. I get the gist of what you guys are saying. I mean, when I type in chat, I'm always messing up stuff, so that's fine. Morak says, I'm on rent and want to glue paper to my wall and paint over it. Oh, some dragons and forests and cool stuff. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like a cool idea. But you're renting. Yeah, it depends on what the rental rules are and what your landlord is like and all that sort of stuff. Whether they're going to like you gluing paper to their wall. But it does sound cool. Sniper Girl says, no, 2.5. You mean 3 then, right? Oh. Android Lust says, oh, that kind of painting, that's pretty... Yeah, that is very cool. That is cool. I just assume being a streamer because that's the first place my mind goes when somebody says painting a wall. I automatically think they want to paint it green because they want a green screen. Sniper Girl says to Morak, that could be cool if you're able to do it, allowed to. Yeah, take pictures if you are allowed to. But you might want to check with your landlord or your agent or whatever first just to make sure you don't get yourself in trouble. Some landlords are fine with it. Other landlords, no. It just depends on how good they are. Okay, let's find another texture. Morak says, yeah, when I'm moving out, I'll just take the paper with me. Okay, you just said you were going to glue it to the wall though, so I'm just trying to work out how you're going to take it all without damaging the wall or damaging a picture. You could probably put it on some sort of frame, you know what I mean? just like a big wooden frame that you can lay your sheets on, and that way you don't have to actually stick it to the wall. You can just attach the frame part to the wall. Easier to take down. Besides which, if you're going to the trouble of making your own artwork, you don't want to leave it there. You do want to be able to take it with you. At least I would. It's mine. I want to take it with me. I turned the central heating off when I started streaming because I have lights going and stuff. So I usually end up getting too hot, but I'm starting to get a bit of a cold back. It's getting a bit cool. Can't win. Oh, come on, let me find something. Oh, okay, Morag says, I'm pretty sure it's okay since it's not directly on the wall. Then that'll be fine then. Yes, that's right. Morag says, hashtag don't leave good art behind movement. I agree. Edo says... this rigging is killing my soul. I see Smurpery. Didn't Smurpery post about that as well? That the rigging was the work of the devil in the Discord. So I would say UV mapping is the work of the devil, but rigging would come a close second. I don't disagree. I don't do a lot of rigging, thankfully. I'm not a character person, but I have done it in the past as part of my technical artist job, and it was never fun. Really important again, but never fun. Morag says that will be my political party if I ever have one. Edo says this rigging is killing my soul. Morag says Edo gives power. Yeah, rigging is like UV mapping. It's not something I like doing, but it's really, really important. You're not going to get a good animation if you don't get a good rig. Just like you're not going to get a good texture if you don't get a good UV map. So yes, I agree with you all. It is the work of the devil. I'm having a problem finding something here that I like. Can't find what I like. Okay, we do have these rocks that are really interesting. Let's have a look at those. I'm just going to do a quick save here because I'm just wary about laying down too many layers because Max is using a lot of video card memory. And I don't want to crash my PC, even though it won't bring the stream down. I still would rather not crash my PC, so I just got to remember to save before I start using some of these complex shaders. Just to be on the safe side. I'm just trying to work out what colour might be best. Maybe this one. It's got a bit more variation of colour in it. Again, I'm going to turn off the height and the normal map. I'm going to up the scaling. You'll post it? Cool, Edo. Morag says, wait, how is Max taking a lot of video memory? GPU accelerated viewport. It's because I'm using DirectX shaders. That's why it's using a lot of video memory. If I wasn't using those DirectX shaders, it wouldn't be quite so bad. But I'm using a lot of DirectX shaders in the viewport to make it as pretty for you guys to look at while I work on it as possible. That's the only reason I'm using DirectX shaders. It's just for you guys. But it does use video memory. So that's the reason. Let's throw another smart mask down. And that's, yes, because it allows us to look at, in the viewport, the shaders getting the nice reflection happening and all that sort of stuff on the materials. Makes it prettier. Morag says, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I do. I've stopped using new DirectX shaders now because I don't want to crash the program or my computer, because I'm pushing it beyond what it's designed for in Max. I'm using a lot of DirectX shaders for a lot of different assets as part of that model. It wasn't designed to be used that way. My apologies for my phone going off in the background. Every time I stream, it seems to happen. So yeah, that's the reason it's using a lot of video memory. But it does allow you to see the material and all its glory in the viewport. That's why I'm using it. This one. Let's look at... Let's maybe look at moss from top. No, maybe not. Ida says, I put her in a funny pose. Let's have a look. Cool. I'm just going to copy the link and I'm going to check it out. I'll show everybody on stream in case anyone's not on the Discord or doesn't want to get on the Discord. If you're new to my channel and you want to know more about me, you can go to phildoes3d.com. You can find out about me there. You can look at my art station, all that sort of stuff. But I just want to look at this character that Ido's just popped into Discord that he's rigging. She's not too funny a pose. What program are you using, Ido? Is this Blender? What is this? I'm just trying to compare the skeleton to when I set up a skeleton in Max. It's Maya. Oh, okay. Because yeah, Max's skeletal visually, a skeleton is a skeleton, but visually in Max it's a little bit different. You actually get to see the bones in Max and stuff, but it looks like you're rigging it up okay. I'm not seeing any, it looks like the weighting and stuff is fine. I'm not seeing any distortion in the mesh, particularly since you've got her in such an exaggerated pose. That would be the pose that would show up any problems if there are problems with weighting. Then maybe just there's, I'm not sure what that little bit of black on the mesh is. It could just be a shadow artifact. So yeah, if you're rigging a character and you want to make sure your weightings and stuff are correct, putting it into an extreme pose is a good way to check. But everything looks fine to me. Ido says, yeah, it took me 30 minutes on the jacket. Okay. Well, like I said, it looks fine. I don't see any problems with the with the skeleton. She's gonna look cool. I like the design of the character. You always make nice character work though, Ido. Always, always. Okay, what about that? I'm looking for a smart material, a smart mask, aren't I? Did I use this soft edges one before, didn't I? So let's not use that one again. Let's use something different. I want something that's going to give me a bit of variation between the textures. Ido says, of course I got to get that job at Blizzard. That's right. Everyone wants that job at Blizzard. Are people still playing Blizzard games? Is that still a thing? I'm so cheeky, aren't I? Of course it's still a thing. I know it's still a thing. They only have like one game though, don't they? They're a studio, a one-game studio. No, I shouldn't say that. Blizzard makes some great games. Let's have a look at this sand dust one. This is a new one. I haven't seen this before. Morag says, I don't know, most big studios lost me after 2010-ish. They just stopped making good games. Just remake the same game again and again. Yes. Assassin's Creed, anyone? How many times can they remake the same Assassin's Creed game? Just call it something different. When we all know it's the same game. I've never been that impressed with the Assassin's Creed games. I know a lot of people love them, but they've never really done much. That and the fact too that I've told you guys I have a fear of heights. So every time the character jumps off of one of those lookout points, it just freaks me out. So I can't play Assassin's Creed games anyway. Too freaked out. I don't really like what this texture is doing. It's removing... Let me see if I can turn invert on. Maybe that'll be better. Yeah, that's better. It was removing what I didn't want it to remove, so by just inverting it, I might be able to use it. And if I can't, then I'll just choose a new one, something different. Let me just pull in a little bit. Too much. You end up with too much or not enough. It's covering up spots that I don't want it to. I'm actually going to remove this mask. I don't like this mask. We'll choose something different. It's just not working for this model here, so I'm just going to clear my mask, remove my mask, and let's find something else. Morag says, cop, Ubisoft, cop. Yes, Ubisoft, yes, they're terrible for it. Well, we've had Watch Dogs 1, Watch Dogs 2, we're getting Watch Dogs 3, we've had all the Assassin's Creed games. I mean, they are notoriously bad for rehashing the same stuff over and over again. But don't forget Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect, they're all the same game. It's just like Hollywood. You know how Hollywood make movies that are all cookie cutters of each other? Because they don't want to take any risks. They just want, investors want their return on their dollars, so the studios don't take any risks in the games that they make, and they just keep releasing the same thing over and over and over ad nauseum. Did I use the Rust Ground? What did I use last time? No, I didn't. I used that other one. Let's look at the Rust Ground one. Morag says Mass Effect was good until Andromeda. And Morag says it's just when you make the series limited to 3 maximum. I would even say 3 is really too much. Maybe 2, maybe. And I don't mind them, like if they've got an IP like Mass Effect, which is, a popular IP, intellectual property that they developed or created, I don't mind them making more games, but make them different. Don't just make the same game like Assassin's Creed over and over and over again. Just don't, it's the same game in a different location. That's all Assassin's Creed is. And that gets old really quick. But there are still people that love the Assassin's Creed games, seem to want to buy them regardless of how many times they've played them before. They always want the new one. Because, you know, now it's in Egypt. Morek says, it's just when you, otherwise it becomes a washed out thing. Witcher is how it's done. The 3 games were really different and better than each other, and they stopped, didn't they? After Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red said, that's it, we're done with the Witcher series now, we're going to move on to Cyberpunk. Completely different sort of game. That's the way to do it. If if any studio wants to take tips from any other studio, I would advise them to look at the way CD Projekt Red develop and market their games, because they're doing it right. Even down to the distribution, where it's not DRM locked and stuff like that. That's the way to do it. Now, I know studios will say, but we need to protect our intellectual property. We don't want people pirating the game. We have to put DRM in there so that we make sure that people buy it. That's just crap. Don't give me that crap. Don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. Come on. CD Projekt Red made huge amounts of money from the Witcher series, and that was not DRM'd. So, it goes to show you it can be done. And otherwise, it's just an excuse. These studios are just using an excuse. Yeah, basically, that's. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. Of course, I'm not saying every studio has a choice. Like, if you release on Steam, that's DRM. You have no choice. If you're going to sell your game on Steam, it just comes as part of Steam. So, but you could put your game on GOG instead, which is, no DRM, if you choose to. But Steam is the most popular platform, so. And Witcher 3 is one of my favourite games of all time. In fact, I think I still have it installed. Do I? Yes, Witcher 3. It's on my always playlist here, always installed, and I always like to go back and give it a play. Because it's such a good game. It's such a good story. Android Lust says, Valve did it right with only stopping at 2. Well, that's right. Then they moved on to selling other people's games and raking money in that way, didn't they, Valve Software, with Steam? Why go to the trouble of making your own game when you can just suck the life of every other dev as part of their game sales? That's not fair. They're just like any other business. They all take a commission. Morek says they did in the deluxe edition book that comes with the game. In the first 10 stanzas, they say this is the last one. And we wanted to make it really special. Well, you really did, CD Projekt Red. Much love. I agree. They did an amazing job, CD Projekt Red, with The Witcher, particularly The Witcher 3. It is one of my favourite games. Android Lost says true. Morek says 30% fee. No wonder why everything jumps ship to Epic Games Store. Well, Epic Games, yeah, they take 12.5%, I think, from memory. Don't quote me on that. And one of the reasons Epic said that they opened the store was because they thought that 30% was too high, which it is. Having said that, you guys know I sell my 3D work on other marketplaces like the Creative Market. I sell my 3D work there. They take a 30% cut of my work. So 30% is pretty standard. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I like paying it, but that seems to be pretty standard. So it's good for Epic Games to only charge 12.5%. Also, if you make a game in UE4 and you sell it on the Unreal Marketplace, Game Store, they don't take the 5% commission on sales that they would if you sold it, say, on Steam. So if you make a game in UE4, you sell it on Steam, you're paying 30% to Steam plus 5% to Epic Games, so that's 35% of your sales go to between Steam and Epic. If you make a game in UE4 and you sell it on the Epic Games Store, you only pay the 12.5%, not the additional 5%. So 35% if you're selling on Steam of your profits are going 12.5% if you're selling on the Epic Games Store. So that's, less than half. So you're making basically twice as much if you sell on the Epic Games Store. Having said that, I would never advise anyone if they're making a game to only sell on one store. So if you're going to invest so much of your time, effort, and development into a game, then you want to sell it on Steam, the Epic Games Store, as many different outlets as you probably can, just so you can get a good return. The different if you're selling 3D models. No, I've said this to you guys before. I only sell my 3D models mainly on one site at the moment, which is the Creative Market, or I sell them on my own website, which I do. So my own website and the Creative Market. I have a couple for sale on ArtStation, but I'm only doing a trial on ArtStation to see what it's like, whether it's going to be worthwhile adding more to ArtStation or not. And that's just so that you have more control over, to make sure your stuff isn't pirated, particularly 3D models, because they're easier to pirate than a game. Morex says, I don't care about standards, but if you take 30% of the money from other people's work, whatever it is, for just providing a platform, it's just crazy, disrespectfully. Oh, look, I agree. Don't sell your work on TurboSquid. They take 60% of your sales. Can you believe that, guys? So you sell a model on TurboSquid, they get 60%. You, who put all the work in, made the model, get 40%. That is outrageous. That's why I've never ever sold anything on TurboSquid, and I never will. That's just exploitation, what they're doing. So never ever sell on TurboSquid, guys and girls. If you sell 3D models if you sell anything digital, never sell it on TurboSquid. Not unless you like giving up 60% of your profits. Blast 3D says, why do you choose to go with the Creative Market for your sales? Well, I used to sell on Eon Views Cornucopia 3D, but they took their store down a couple of years ago, and it's supposed to be coming back, but no one can say when. So I used to sell on Cornucopia as well as the Creative Market. Cornucopia closed the store. It's still in development to reopen it. I used to sell on 3D Studio as well, but they stopped selling 3D models and they went just 3D printed stuff, so I stopped working with them. So I used to sell on more stores, but at the moment it's only on the Creative Market and on my own website, because I have my own store on my own website. And like I said, I'm trialing a couple of models on ArtStation's marketplace as well, but I've only got a couple of models there. But as to why, I don't like selling on too many different 3D stores, because you increase the risk that the model is going to be pirated. Yeah. So the more you spread your models out, the higher the risk that somebody's going to pirate it, or you're going to get sales that are going to get reversed, which does happen. People will use a stolen credit card to buy your model. And then the store will reverse the sale because it's the stolen credit card. The original person of the card didn't make the purchase. Then you lose the sale, but then that model ends up out in the wild, and it's a hassle and something you've got to constantly keep on top of. Like I have to constantly send DMCA or DCMA, I always get it wrong, notices out to websites telling them to take down illegal file links to my stuff. So that's one of the reasons. But as to why the Creative Market, well, the Creative Market is owned by Autodesk, and I use 3D Studio Max. That's the software that I use all the time. So I wanted to sell on a site that was affiliated with Autodesk because I like their software. That's why I chose the Creative Market. Andrew Dust says, wait, 60%? Yes, 60%. Can you believe it? It's outrageous. Yeah, it is. Holy shit, that's right, Morak. It's outrageous. They've got a hide charging 60% of, they've got a hide taking more profit than you, and you're the one that made the damn thing. That's why I would never, ever, 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 ever sell on TurboSquid. Anything. I hope that site closes down, because I think that they're just ripping people off. Andrew Loss says, well, I shall never look at TurboSquid again. Yeah, don't buy stuff on TurboSquid, guys. They really screw the creators. They really do. Snappy Girl says to Andrew Loss, if you sell on TurboSquid, keep the 60% in mind and adjust your price. Well, that's basically what a lot of sellers do. you'll find models that if a 3D person sells the same model on TurboSquid as on, I don't know, ArtStation, you'll find the model on TurboSquid is at least 60% higher because, you know, the artist has to make money as well. So you're going to be paying more for anything you buy on TurboSquid. So my advice is don't buy anything from TurboSquid. Sniper Girl says all 3D artists that sell there do that. It's the reason sale prices are super high on TurboSquid. Well, TurboSquid is the biggest 3D marketplace as well. So that's the other reason a lot of... Yeah, I've never sold there and I never will. But they are the biggest. They've been in business the longest. They take the most profit from your work though. Android Lost says to Sniper Girl, that makes sense. I've always thought the sales prices were pretty high. And Morag says, my clients send me references from there, otherwise I would just block that domain from the host Cine file. Yeah. Again, they've been in business the longest. They have the biggest selection of 3D models for sale. They'll never have any of my work though, because I refuse to give them 60% of my profits. They do nothing. You know, apart from host my model and make it available for sale, like every other 3D sale site does, they do nothing. So to take double the profit, well, they can just get stuffed. To be perfectly blunt, they can get stuffed. Okay, let's choose one more material, which is going to be a dirt layer. Then we can take it back into Max. Sniper Girl says, I'm thinking of selling there. We'll just add 60% to my sale price. Well, if you want to, yeah, well, if that's what you'd have to do that, Sniper Girl, if you want to sell there, but I wouldn't sell there. Just out of principle, because I think it stinks that they're trying to rip creators off like that. You know? Yeah, it annoys me when companies try and take advantage of the hard work of creative people. It's one of the reasons I don't like sites like freelancer.com, which is where you can get design work done that people bid on. Like, you know, you're the client, you say, I need this designed, and then people will bid, and whoever gets the lowest, generally you as the client will pick whoever pays, you know, whoever's the cheapest. A race to the bottom is never good in the creative industry. You don't want to get involved in stuff that's a race to the bottom or the cheapest or the fastest, because that's just not the way creative industry works. Not good creative anyway. So that's the reason I don't like websites like freelancer.com, because it devalues us as artists and it devalues the industry as a whole. Because you can't compete if you're someone living in the United States, you can't compete with someone living in a place like India or some parts of Europe where the cost of living is much lower. Therefore, they can afford to underbid you because they don't have to pay so much for stuff as we have to pay. So you're always at a disadvantage that way. Now, look, it's good for the people in places like India or in places like Europe, some parts of Europe. I'm not saying it's bad for those people. I'm just saying, yeah, you can't compete if you're in a first world country like the United States or the UK or anything, or Germany or anywhere like that. Morag says you will still be giving a ton of money to those guys and supporting their platform. Yeah, that's why I would say don't do it, Sniper Girl. Don't sell on their platform. But hey, it's your my phone's going off again. It's your model and you do what you want. If you want to sell on that platform, you sell. But I wouldn't. Don't you crash on me, I'll be very annoyed. There we go. Okay, let's just pull up on the scaling a little bit. Now I'm using this as a dirt layer, so I'm going to make this dirt a little darker. Quite dark. Not that dark. A little bit darker. There we go, that's good. Snappy Girl says to Mark, this is true. They're the biggest, though, which means more chance of sale models. I don't know if that's necessarily true, Snappy Girl. Just because they're the biggest doesn't mean you've got more chance to sell there, because you've got more competition. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it actually equates to better sales, because there's more people competing. Snappy Girl says, one of my good friends have had great luck there. Yeah. Again, that is a decision that you have to make as the artist, but I won't sell there, ever. And if they ever see my stream here, I won't ever be allowed to. But I won't support them. I refuse to support them. They're just ripping off artists. Sorry, but they are. Android Lust says, accidentally closed Twitch, trying to close Arnold render view. All right, let's go with one more smart material now. So the smart mask, rather, of our dirt layer, and let us pick. Maybe dirt splashes. I haven't seen that one. That's a new one as well, I think. Merck says, gives power to Phil PC so it doesn't crash. Thank you, Morek. It didn't crash, thank God. And let's have a look at this dirt splashes. Again, I think this is another new smart mask. I haven't noticed this one before. Yeah, I know it's new because this is a new thing as well. This gizmo. So we have a grunge map that we can change the scale on. I'll just pull up a little bit on the scale. I won't change the rotation. Hardness doesn't seem to be doing a lot. Let's look at this grunge map. Let's get in here a little bit. I might pull up a little bit here. High quality bilinear filtering is fine. We're using triplanar projection. Let's jump back to the bottom one. Pull down on that. Contrast still not doing much for us. That should probably be enough. I just wanted enough to get a bit of color variation, a little bit of a dirt over the texture. I think we should be good. Let's do a save here and export the textures. Just before I do an export on the textures though, I'm going to rename it. And we're going to call it Small Terrace Decos. Snappy Girl says, the thing I liked in Discord, how do you think they did? Oh, you're talking about the little grassy patch, aren't you? How do you think they did to scan the vegetation like that? Do you think they scanned leaves and then recreated the vegetation? or do you think they found a way to somehow scan all of it at once? That's a good question. And actually, we'll look at that in 2 seconds. Let me just do an export on this texture. I'm not sure how they've done that. I'm not sure what program they use. I'm going to actually have a look at the image in a minute so I can get a closer look at it. Regardless of how they did it, doing that is going to give you a huge polygon model. So it's always going to be more efficient to do it in a third-party program like SpeedTree or Plant Factory or something like that. You're always going to get a more optimized model, because that's going to be a huge poly count. That patch that you linked to, I'm just going to copy the link here and we'll have a look at it. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to actually look at it close up. I think what they've done is they've taken photogrammetry of, say, the grass, like a piece of grass, and maybe one of these one of these weeds. So they've like, the weed has been on its own, one of the grass stalks has been on its own. This, I'll call it parsley, but I think it's not parsley, but that's a grouping, has been on its own. And then they've put that together into a little grouping. So I don't think this is one object that they've just photographed on its own in nature. I think they've made a little scene here of different pieces of photogrammetry that they've then put together. Because I noticed you posted an image of one of these weeds, like a top-down view that you're doing photogrammetry on. That's what they've done. They've created individual plants in photogrammetry and then put them together into this little grouping, this little scene. I bet you that's what they've done. Yeah, it does look reconstructed, Snurpery. I agree. It is reconstructed. This is not how it is in nature. This is not what they've photographed. This is what they've put together artificially. It's constructed. It's been put together, been made this way, not photographed like this. More exists. Now, honestly, I think the most likely made is separate. They put it together like Phyllis. Yeah. Sniper Girl says, so scanned individually, baked, and then recreated. That's exactly right. Yep. That's what they've done. They've scanned individually plants, and then they've made this little scene by putting those scanned plants and copying them. And you can sort of tell, if you look at the weed here, it's exactly the same. The texturing is the same. All they've done is rotate the model and scale them a little bit, which is fine. I mean, that's perfectly valid. That's, that's what you can do, but that's what they've done. That's what you were thinking as well, Sniper Girl? Yeah. Sniper Girl says, and the picture I posted is a photogrammetry weed. It's actually a 3D model. Was going to bake them down and use them in the gas station along the fence. Yes, I saw the weed, because this weed here reminded me of your weed that you did your photogrammetry on. I'm just going to copy the link. And doing this, using photogrammetry though, you are going to really increase your poly count on your plants. That's again why people use SpeedTree or Plant Factory to get a more optimized model, because these models are going to be really high poly, and you're going to have the same problem if you do want to do photogrammetry for all of your plants as well. I'm not saying that you can't, no, or you shouldn't. I'm just saying it will be high poly. You can do mesh poly reduction and stuff, but it's probably going to be easier. The other reason people generally don't do photogrammetry on plants is because you can't then animate the plant, or you can, but it's going to be really time consuming and fiddly. So that's generally the reason why people don't use photogrammetry for plants. Like, they could use photogrammetry just to get a leaf, and then they could take that into like SpeedTree and turn it into a wind animated plant that way. But generally people don't do this sort of thing because you can't animate it without a lot of work. A little weed like this you probably wouldn't want to animate anyway, because it's not going to move in the wind very much. It's very low to the ground. but it will be higher poly. But that looks great for photogrammetry. I think it looks cool. I can see all your little camera positions here. The only thing you might have an issue with is the underside of the plant, because it's on the ground. You're not going to get any shots of it, but you're never going to see underneath of it anyway because of the fact that it sits so low to the ground, so that shouldn't be a problem. It does look cool. Morak says, I actually wonder if I just photogram something, get the model in ZBrush, Z-Remesh. Yes, I've used Z-Remesher and ZBrush, it's very good. And then unwrap and bake it. Will it be fast and good way to get some okay low mid poly meshes? Yeah, it will. It will be a good way to get low poly meshes, but it's still going to be better to do it in a program like SpeedTree. My big head's in the way. So using a program like SpeedTree, you can add wind animation. It's easier, and it's going to be much more poly efficient than doing it through Photogrammetry. Whoops, there we go. But nothing's saying you can't. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, for sure. Particularly, you know, if you don't want to rent SpeedTree or buy SpeedTree, you can, Photogrammetry, sure. You're not going to be able to capture trees though, because trees are always going to be moving. The leaves on a tree are always going to be slightly shifting. You're not going to be able to use photogrammetry for that, because you're not going to be able to get a triangulation going properly. It won't capture very well. But things like this that are on the ground, weeds that don't move on a still day, then that's fine. I do notice though you've got a little bit of an error here in your triangulation, Sniper Girl. I'm seeing a double here on the vein leaves, just on here and there. That's a problem with the triangulation in the cameras. But it is a good way to get some. You could do it that way, Morak. Sniper Girl says to Morak, for some things that works. I did a similar. Yeah, you did for the dragon. Looked really cool. And she's actually posted pictures of the dragon she did in the Discord as well, so you should check it out, because it does look very nice. You've seen it, good. I want one, Morak says. Sniper Girl says, yeah, underside true. Was looking at baking a couple of the leaves down on a plane. You can do that. Sniper Girl says to Morak, going to eventually sell it. Just haven't got around to it yet. Morak says, the kind of dragon. Sniper Girl says, the original sculpture was all wood, hand carved. Got it. Yeah. She retextured it in Substance Painter. She did a really nice job too. So the texture you see in the model was not the original texture that she captured as part of photogrammetry. She retextured it and it looked really, really nice. Indrid Lust says to Morak, it will work, but Z-Remesher doesn't give me the topology that I like for some things. I've used Z-Remesher in ZBrush. It does a pretty good job, generally. For the sort of things I've needed it to do, it's been okay. Sniper Girl says, yeah, noticed that as well. Did that as a test, as a proof of concept, yeah. Yeah, so they're just might be a couple of gotchas with some doing plants, because you have to get so close to the model, to the object, and because the object is generally pretty small. It's going to, unless you're really careful with your triangulation, you're going to start to have some errors. Nothing you can't work around. Just take more pictures, basically, to fix those errors. And that's just because the triangulation is having a bit of a problem that's causing that double up. It looks very cool. A nice capture of the weed itself. Let's do a quick save here. Let's jump back into Max and apply our texture. Actually, what I want to do here is I want to create a smart material here so we can reuse this material. So we'll make a smart material by adding a folder. And what are we calling this? Small Terrace Decos. Start it with my. Always my. So I know it's mine. My Small Terrace Decos. And let's just make sure we throw all of that inside of our folder. Inside of our folder. Did I put it inside or did I take it out again? There we go. And let's create a smart material. Okay. And there's our smart material. Just going to do a save and then close down Substance Painter briefly. Then we're going to jump back into Max. You see Max has no problem when Substance Painter is closed. I think it's because they're both using DirectX and they compete with each other for the viewport. I think that's why Max takes a while when Substance Painter is open to jump between the two. Sniper Girl says, didn't just retexture, adjusted the sculpt quite a bit. A lot of fine tuning, adjusting on the dragon. Yeah, no, I know. You did a lot of work on the dragon. And it looked very cool. Let us bring the texture in. Now, I'm not going to create a DirectX shader for this because, like I said, I don't want to crash my machine. So we're just going to use the standard shader here. We'll see it in all its glory when I take it into Eon View because we'll create PBR materials in Eon View. But I need to find where we saved our texture. It's under temp. Send to substance. What do I call it? Small terrace decos. That's the one. And we want the color texture. Let's make sure we show it so we can see it. Let us select it and assign it. And that's good. I wanted a bit of a color variation between them. I mean, it's still pretty similar, but slightly different. A little bit lighter than these straight bits. Sniper Girl says, for the vegetation, next test will be picking the leaves that I need to use, place them on an off-color poster board, photograph the leaves, use Photoshop to remove the background, and then use reality capture to make the models. Yep, that sounds good. Just don't crop your photos or anything before you turn them into a 3D model, because that will throw out the triangulation for the photogrammetry. So by all means, remove the background, all that sort of stuff, but don't do any cropping or anything on the image. Keep them all as original size, so that when you do the triangulation in the photogrammetry software, you won't have any problems. But that sounds like a good plan. I do a similar thing if I'm working in SpeedTree and I want to make a plant. I'll take a leaf and I'll actually scan the leaf because I have a scanner. So I actually scan the leaf like, a flatbed scanner. You can take a photograph of it, of course, but I actually like to pick the leaf, pop it in my scanner, pop the lid down so the leaf is relatively flat, and I get a nice texture I can use then in SpeedTree to actually remake the plant in SpeedTree if I want to. Or even just use the leaf in a different way on a tree, or say, take the leaf of a weed like that and put it on a tree. I mean, who's to say it can't be on a tree? Okay, we're going to texture these bits up now as well, and we're going to use the same texture, that smart material we made for this one. So let us just do a quick save, and then we're going to send this over to Substance Painter and then bring it back in, which is going to be really quick now because we already made the smart material. That's one of the things I really do love about Substance Painter, being able to create these smart materials and reuse them easily. Sniper Girl says, will OC bake them down and all that so they'll be usable? You won't crop them? Good, don't crop them. Yeah, you want to avoid making any major changes to photographs you're going to use in photogrammetry. Otherwise, it's going to throw out the software. It won't be able to triangulate properly. Okay, let us send this to Substance Painter. What's this one called? A1407. That's terrible. Terrible, Philip. We'll call this one small outer decos. There we go. Send to substance. Yes, you're going to complain. You always complain. Morag says, on next episode, Phil drags a big sack of bricks to the scanner with an evil look on his face. Let's make out our maps. So yes, the old-fashioned scanners can still be useful. I'm liking this new speed of these bakeouts now in the program. They've done a great job. Bakes out incredibly quickly. I'm just trying to... What's going on here? Oh, there we go. Okay. I was thinking, why has it gone black? So yeah, no, the speed of the bake out now is very cool. Very cool. I'm going to have to start experimenting with the baker in Painter a little bit more now that it's so fast. Just to do high poly to low poly bakeouts of normal maps and stuff, I must start experimenting with that a bit more. Okay, now we're going to jump into our smart materials. We're going to filter by my because, you know, all of my stuff has got my in front of it. And we want small terrace decos. That's the one. We'll just wait for substance to compile the shader. And now we've got them quickly textured up. We can send it back to Max. Let's just do a save. And export the textures. Let me rename the texture first. What was it called again? Small outer decos. Now we can save and export. I'm going to export this at 2K. 4K is overkill because it's not that big. Sniper Girl says, I could see that. Sniper Girl says, can you bake out alphas in Substance now? Can you bake out alphas? I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried to bake out an alpha in Substance Painter. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't see an option for alphas though. Would be cool if we could. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let us create a standard shader. Load up our new export, which is small outer decos, yes. Sniper Girl says, thanks, looks like I'll still be baking in Marmoset. Yeah, I don't see an option for doing alphas. I just like the speed of that new baker. I think that's really cool. It does the baking incredibly fast. Incredibly fast. And that up there, 2K is fine for what we want. And that's good. You'll notice my viewport's much faster now. Remember I said to you, I think the problem we were having with the sticky mouse and Max's viewport was because I was maxing out my video memory because I was using so many DirectX shaders. So now that I'm using fewer DirectX shaders, everything is fine. Like I said, it was never meant to be used that way. Autodesk didn't give you the ability to use DirectX shaders in the viewport the way I'm using them. I'm overusing them, exploiting them, taking advantage of the DirectX shaders. Sniper Girl says, I agree. If I'm doing a lot of vegetation though, I can see it being a lot of extra work to do alphas by hand. Yeah, that's true. Alphas are always a pain, but having a good alpha will really help with photogrammetry though, because you can get rid of all that other rubbish in the background and just concentrate on what you want to turn into a model. So yeah, throwing down an alpha is always a great idea for photogrammetry. Having said that, Bentley Context Capture, which is, you guys know I have 3 pieces of photogrammetry software. I alternate between depending. Agisoft Metashape, Bentley Context Capture, and Reality Capture by capturing reality. I generally use Reality Capture because I can use the GPU, it's very fast. And I don't usually need an alpha map with Reality Capture. Having said that, having an alpha map will still help. If you're using Metashape, I find Metashape really does, it's best to have an alpha. And Context Capture, you don't really need an alpha for that either. But if you use one, you're going to get a better result. Morek says, is it a plugin? What are you asking, Morek? What a plugin? Explain what you mean. I'm just not sure what you're asking, or even if you're talking to me, actually. Is what a plugin? The director, oh no, it comes with Max. It's not a plugin. So in your shaders, here is the shader. It comes part of Max under the General tab. You just drag in the DirectX shader. And once you've done that, then you can hook up, once you change it from HLSL to interactive, then you can hook up your maps from Substance Painter, like your normal map, your color map, your metallic map, your roughness map, an emissive map if you've got one, your ambient occlusion map if you've got one. So once you've done that, then whatever you apply that texture to will look like it does in Substance Painter through a DirectX shader. But just be careful not to use too many of them like I did, because that can start to cause issues with Max. But no, it comes as part of Max's default install. Morek says, also, I've never baked in Marmoset. Sniper Girl says, to cookie, it's not that. For vegetation, if I'm baking a leaf onto a plane, I need it to bake out an alpha map for it to be usable. It's very true. You need an alpha map if you're using a plane. So yeah, there you go, Morek. It's part of Max. Just the DirectX shader, it's called it. You want to make sure, if you do want to use it in Max and you want to bring stuff from Substance Painter, by default, it defaults to HLSL. Just change that with the drop down to interactive, and then you can pop in your maps easily. Cookie says I should try it now. I'm curious. Sniper Girl says, to cookie, no mean high to low texture baking. Scan say a leaf as a high, bake it down to a plane. Morek says, don't worry, Phil, I will be glad to crash my Max as many times as possible. Also, well, you saw Max. My Max didn't crash. My entire computer crashed. You didn't see it because, like, of the second machine that does the streaming, but my entire computer crashed. It blue screened. I blue screened the entire computer, and the only way I could fix it was to turn the computer off and turn it back on again. So yeah, it didn't crash the program. It crashed the entire machine. But again, like I said, that was me. I'm overusing the DirectX shader in the viewport. I'm still using it here and there on this model, like for the columns and here on the metalwork and on the tile, but I've cut it back a lot, and you can see Max is much more stable now that I'm not using quite so many. I'm not getting my sticky cursor or anything like that. And I've just made people sick watching the stream by throwing my model around the screen like that. Sniper Girl says to Morek, the Autodesk, that's Autodesk for you. Cookie says, yeah, I'm being a bit more technical, talking about the bakers and raycasts. So what have we got left to texture up? We've got the lower terrace, the steps, this step here, and then the main steps here, and the lines. But we're nearly done. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more objects pretty much to texture. And then we're going to be jumping into Mari, probably, I think, to do some cleanup work on the photogrammetry, and then we're going to jump into View. But I think we might leave it there for today, guys and girls. I do want to thank you all very much, though, for hanging out with me, watching and being here. I'll be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We'll pick up where we left off here and we'll continue texturing up these last few pieces. And we'll take things from there. You're quite welcome. Thank you guys again for watching. I do appreciate it. Thank you also, Rapity. Thank you for the follow, Rapity. I didn't notice that before. My apologies for taking so long. Thank you, Rapity, Lubathor and Emmy for following the channel. I do appreciate it. Remember to join the Discord server if you want to show your work. Again, there's the link. I've just popped into chat. I'll see you guys and girls tomorrow, hopefully. You guys take care. Have a good night, good day, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys. See ya.